Between the Mid-Suburban League's Prospect Knights Welcome everyone to week number 8 of Prospect Football Weekly presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. I'm here with head coach Dan DeBuff. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed like it was all going right after our first drive touchdown from Jimmy Martin to Matt Meyer. What happened after that?
Sure. I think the thing we keep talking about week to week with you is how we respond to adversity and how we battle through adversity. And I think we had some things really going our way against BG, and then we saw some adversity, and it affected our energy levels on the field, so we're going to continue to try to bounce back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a lot of screen passes and QB draws called the third and fourth quarter in the game. Do you think you should have been more aggressive with play calling late in the game?
That's a great question. I think the weather did play a factor in how we kind of had to call the game. That second half weather was really rough. To throw the ball in. It was pretty much a downpour as you were there.
I saw it.
So we're hoping for a little drier night on Friday.
Be very cold on Friday night. Time of possession was also another issue on Friday night.
Sure.
How does that problem need to be fixed before you take on a Wheeling team this week?
Definitely, and that's one of the biggest issues when you run a no-huddle, fast-paced offense. If you're not getting first downs, your time of possession is really low, which puts your defense in a tough situation.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of was part of the issue on Friday night.
Yeah, obviously you talked about the weather conditions being an absolute downpour in Buffalo Grove. How did that affect the game plan in the second half?
It definitely affected what we did. It's nice playing on turf where you don't have the muddy surface. It was still, when it's coming down that hard, the balls are going to be wet even if you're trying to rotate balls in.
Yeah.
It definitely affected what we did a little bit in the second half. But that being said, you got to control what you can control, and that's our attitude and our energy on the field, and it wasn't quite where it needed to be.
Yeah, I think follow-up question for that is there was some lightning in the area at Buffalo Grove. Was that even mentioned to the officials at all?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I'm really surprised that we actually finished the game. I think we were the only game in the conference that actually finished a game Friday night. So it was interesting. I was kind of waiting for that to happen, and then it just never did.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, the defense was on the field a lot against Buffalo Grove. What have you done in practice to make sure that doesn't happen against Wheeling this week?
We've made some practice changes, some practice tweaks. Usually we go helmets only on Mondays. This week we went shells yesterday and tried to start our week a little bit earlier. We are mixing around some of our practice segments to get back to, our biggest focus this week is playing with guts and playing with heart. So we're kind of getting back to the basics this week.
Yeah, what is a positive you can take from this game against Buffalo Grove?
I think the biggest thing we need to take away moving forward is we really control our own destiny. We control our own attitudes. If we can kind of take that next step with our heart, with our effort, with our energy levels, we should be in a good spot.
All right, thank you, Coach DeBuff, and stay tuned for an interview with safety Zach Zai.
Welcome back to Prospect Football Weekly presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. I'm here with safety Zach Zai. Zach, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
How did the defense try to stay upbeat with Buffalo Grove playing the way that they did?
We were just really trying to have a short memory and take it one play, one drive at a time, and try to give the offense as much of a chance to come back as we could.
Absolutely. What is the main improvement on the defensive side of the ball that needs to be fixed heading into the game against Wheeling?
We just really need to take the technique and the drills that we do in practice and translate it into the game and then finish plays when we're in position.
Right. How did conditioning help out on Friday?
Going against a really fast-paced offense in practice really just helps slow the game down and makes us last longer during the game.
Absolutely. Being a pretty tall person, how does that help you when playing safety?
It gives me a little more range, like being able to get over the top of like a slice route, like going down the middle, or seeing going down.
Right. What do you think the intensity will be on the field with both teams in a win or die scenario?
We know we have to come and just play our guts out, and we know they're going to too. So we just have to come give it our all and play good technique.
Absolutely. That's all we have for Zach Zai. Stay tuned for a special interview with our psychology teachers here at Prospect High School. Welcome back to Prospect Football Weekly presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. I'm here with psychology teachers, Mr. Heilman and Ms. Schaff. Guys, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. When did we start raising awareness for Mental Health Awareness Month at Prospect?
This is actually the first year that we've done the National Alliance of Mental Health campaign. It was an idea that Mr. Heilman and I last week noticed online, and we decided to go with it this week because it's a it's an issue that's important to both of us.
Absolutely. Mr. Heilman, on Monday you handed out these green ribbons. Can you explain what those were for?
So Ms. Schaffeld and myself, we wanted to get as much of the student body involved in the campaign, and wearing a green ribbon we felt was a very simple way, symbolic way to get students noticing and to get students involved in representing kind of the awareness. And so these green ribbons, the color green is for mental health. And so on Friday, all of our Psych 1 classes were cutting ribbons, putting on the safety pins, putting a little card to it that gives kind of the information about it. And then we all rallied yesterday morning and passed out 2,000 ribbons to all the student body.
Especially with all the current events relating to mental health, how important is it for people to talk about this issue not only at home but at school as well?
I think people have a perception that mental health is something that only matters when you are struggling. And Ms. Schaffeld and myself, we've always kind of, as part of our curriculum with Psych 1, wanted to impose upon students that mental health is not just an issue that's at home or with your parents or with your friends. It is every aspect of your life. Everything that you do, your mental health plays a role in. And so we just wanted to continue to emphasize that and spread that to the student body this week.
Absolutely. Ms. Schaff, can you tell us a little bit about the hashtag what the hashtag Cure Stigma means?
Sure. NAMI, the organization that we're working with, dubbed the Cure Stigma hashtag the theme for the week. So we are following their lead. And really the whole point of this week is to recognize that mental illness happens, but more importantly to spread a notion of kindness around the building, that we need to treat each other with kindness, which really plays off nicely off of last week's Nice Way.
Right, absolutely.
So that's really what it's about, that use language appropriately, make sure that you're not stigmatizing people that are suffering, whether they have an official diagnosis or if they're just having a bad day. Just like you wouldn't call somebody cancerous, for example. You wouldn't use that because it's hurtful.
Right.
You shouldn't use the expression, oh, you're acting so bipolar. Shouldn't do that either.
No.
It's equally as insulting.
Absolutely. How do you think this week has united both the regular and AP Psych classes here at Prospect?
That's a great question. I let AP Psych into the loop last week that this was going on. They supported Psych 1 yesterday by wearing green, which is obviously the color. And I showed them some of the morning announcements ahead of time to bring them into the loop and asked them just to give some props to their classmates that are taking Psych 1.
Okay. And our last question, are there any other planned events that the psychology classes are trying to raise awareness for?
So each one of our units basically pertains to a person's life and how they live their life. So for example, our next unit is consciousness, and so in the past we've done a kind of a sleep awareness campaign to get students informed. We'll put some PSAs in the morning announcements. Sometimes we'll put some billboards up on the throughout the school, just to kind of raise awareness to people's conscious levels, altered states. Drug use is a part of that as well. And then in the spring, we have our huge psych fair, where the student body gets to come down and be test subjects for our Psych 2 students that have created research projects and are gathering data, and again need students to be those subjects as part of their data.
Right.
So psych is something that is unavoidable. It's every aspect of our life, and Ms. Schaffeld and myself, we try to make the experiences for our psych students, both AP, Psych 1 and Psych 2, real, and then apply them to the student body when we see it fits. So.
Absolutely. That's all we have for our psych teachers. Stay tuned to preview our Week 8 matchup against Wheeling High School with head coach Dan DeBuff.
Welcome back, everybody, to Prospect Football Weekly, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. Coach DeBuff has been so nice to make his long journey back to this chair.
You got it. Here I am.
Thank you very much. Wheeling has been sort of the surprise team in the MSL East. What have you seen so far for them on film this week?
Yeah, I think they're tough. I think their guys play really hard. They got some grit to them. They play a ton of guys both ways, and I think that shows a little bit of their toughness.
Oh, yeah. Last week, Wheeling played only one half of football, meaning that they're going to be pretty well rested. Do you think that's going to affect anything at all heading into this week?
I don't think so. I think, again, our focus is going to be on ourselves. Of course, we have our game plan in, and we've got some things that we like against what Wheeling does, but more importantly, it's about us and executing what we do.
I think Wheeling is in the same situation as you. They have the same record. How much desperation do you think you're going to see in this must-win game for them before they head into their final game against Ursi?
Yeah, I think for both of us, both teams, we're backs are against the wall. We're happy to be in the situation that we are with. We're playing these games in October that are really meaningful. Each play, each series, each game is super, super important with our outcome for our season.
Yeah, Wheeling quarterback Michael Best has been very productive for them, including a game where he threw for 3 touchdown passes against Vernon Hills. How can the defense stop him this week?
Yeah, he's a really good athlete. You can tell on film that he's definitely their guy. Also starts in the secondary for him. A really special athlete. Our biggest thing is continuing to stick to our game plan. Coach Collins is going to do a great job of preparing our defense like always, and I'm sure that he'll have some nice twists for the Wheeling offense.
Like most defenses, Wheeling struggled last week against Rolling Meadows. What does the offense need to do to get it going this week?
Getting back to what we do well, sticking to the plan, playing one play at a time, and even when we do see some adversity or some negative things happen, that we get right back on the plan.
Absolutely. How have you been approaching this must-win game approach with the players?
Really, our focus is playing 6 seconds at a time. Each football play really lasts between 4 and 6 seconds. We took the safe route and went with 6 seconds. We broke down. We had yesterday before our meeting, we had 8 practices left, 2 games left in the regular season. We broke that all the way down to seconds. We have 8,160 6-second segments left of the season.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do with each one of those 6-second segments to create the outcome that we want?
There's a lot of seconds until this potential thing happens. Do you think 2 victories puts this team back in the playoffs for the first time since 2012?
I do, yeah. With some of our non-con games, some teams that are doing fairly well, like Hoffman Estates and Deerfield, it looks like we would have enough playoff points to get in. We want to look big picture and get to that goal, but more importantly, we want to focus on trying to get better 6 seconds at a time.
Need to win the next 2 games to get there. And that's all for Prospect Football Weekly, week number 8. We will hopefully see you for the not finale next week as we preview the game against Elk Grove here at home.